Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today I'm going to be talking about my 10 loadouts for season 3 in Call of Duty Mobile. So starting off, we got the HVK. So this gun is extremely good ever since like a few seasons ago. I got small nerfs here and there, but still this gun is extremely viable. Fire rate's really high and the recoil is pretty controllable. This gun is pretty good for beginners too. So let me go over loadouts. So starting with MIP strike stock, I'm using this for the ADS bullet spread, also for the hit flinch too. I don't really care about the other things. And then I have the integrated heavy suppressor on. This gives me silence. It helps with the ADS bullet spread, also helps with horizontal recoil too. And then moving on, we got OWC laser tactical because I get ADS time and ADS bullet spread. There's no negative effects for a laser, so always use a laser sight. Now I have large caliber ammo. This basically just increases damage and body damage. So if you compare it to the 45 round mag, the damage is lower, the range is lower. So yeah, use the large caliber ammo. Finally, we have granulated grip tape just for the ADS bullet spread. Now moving on, we have the DRH. So this gun's extremely good. It's been excellent ever since it came out. I mean, like, this gun, like, really didn't get that much of a nerf. Like, I don't even think it got a nerf, but this gun's still extremely good. If you see here, the controls may be really low, but there's like no vertical control recoil at all. This gun, the only thing this gun sucks at is ADS bullet spread, so that's why I'm focusing mainly on high accuracy, but I'm not focusing on control. Starting off, we got the MIP, what's it called, light muzzle brake. I'm using it mainly just for the 6.4 ADS bullet spread here it gives me. And then moving on to the Rangers, I'm using this just for a 7.6 ADS bullet spread. I'm not using marksman just because I don't need the vertical recoil or recoil control either. All I'm worrying about here on a DRH will be the ADS bullet spread. That's what I'm focusing on. I get laser tactical as always, and then I got the granular tape for ADS bullet spread too. And then finishing up, we got the 25 OT and mag. This mag basically just increases your damage, range, and all that if you compare to the normal mag. So you get more damage, but I mean you get less damage, my bad, less damage. So use a 25 OTM mag. You can use 30 round mag if you unlocked it, but I don't think it's worth it because it will decrease your mobility. So just stick with 25 round mag. So that would be all for the DRH. Okay, moving on to the Man of War. Now this gun got a bunch of nerfs in the past season, so this gun's not that good anymore, but it's still a free shot. So what I'm using is monolithic suppressor. Back then, like 1 season ago, before it was nerfed, the RTC suppressor got a major nerf. What it basically does is it decreases your mobility a lot, including the monolithic suppressor, but the huge suppressor, only good thing about it, gives me a bunch of range. Also doesn't take away ADS bullet spread, but I prefer monolithic suppressor on it too. If you do not want your gun silenced, you can switch out for a light compensator instead. That will help the vertical recoil control more. If you're a beginner, I would recommend switching out for a compensator because when you're playing domination or hardpoint, it doesn't matter if your gun's silenced, but if you're playing search and destroy, I would recommend your gun be suppressed. Now moving on, we got the red dot. I think with the red dot, the recoil and the ADS bullet spread is way more easier to control, so that's what I'm using a red dot on it. And then we have the MIP strike stock. I'm using this for vertical recoil control as usual, also for a hit flinch too. Now moving on, we got the tactical laser, and finishing up, we got the granulated grip tape just for the ADS bullet spread. This will be all for the Man of War. Now moving on to my AK-117 build, what I'm using is OWC skeleton stock for the ADS time, specifically the ADS movement speed. As you can see here, ADS movement speed, if you guys don't know what it is, it's basically when you're jumping, sliding, shooting, when you're just basically scoped in. That's like when you're jumping, all that. And I'm using red dot. You can trade out the red dot for something like granulated grip tape if you want, but I'm using a red dot just so I can use this gun at long range too. For long range, basically just like tap fire, just tap tap tap. And I'm using marksman because AK-117 has a lot of vertical recoil. It kicks really high, but all it basically do, this guy's not like the MNCS. We have the control left and right vertical recoil. This guy, you basically can just hold down your screen and vertical recoil should be pretty easy to handle. Moving on, we got the OWC laser tactical, and I got 40 round extended mag. I don't want to use 48 round because it'll lower my mobility a lot, so there's no I don't want to use too much capacity considering this gun does reload pretty quickly. So yeah, that's all I'm using for my AK-117 build. Moving on, we got the DLQ. If you guys did not know, or if new to Call of Duty Mobile, this gun actually did get a buff a few seasons ago. Call Mobile increased the damage, so this gun, my opinion, I think it's better than the Locust, who I'm using white cam combat stock. You can trade it out for skeleton stock if you prefer it. more ADS movement speed, I'm just sticking with compact stock. And then MIP light ADS time. On snipers, you basically just want to focus on ADS time, like screw look controls and accuracy, just focus on ADS time. Following up, we got extended mag just for more bullets, I guess. You don't have to use it, you can use extended mag B, or you can just not use the extended mag and trade out with a suppressor if you want. Then laser tactical ADS time. And then finish up, we got FMJ. You don't have to use FMJ, you could trade it out for any perk you prefer. But I'm using FMJ just to get those wall bangs and trick shots. That's all for my DLQ. Now we have the PP19. If you guys did not know, this gun was indeed available in a Battle Pass. So if you guys hadn't read it, I would highly recommend you go grind for it because this gun is extremely good. This gun does have the potential to free shot. This gun, if you did not know, is the burst SMG. So if you accurate your shots, it could potentially one burst. So what I'm using is monolithic suppressor. I get a boost in range. Also, it's silent. Now moving on, we got marksman barrel just for the damage range and ADS bullet spread. Now I'm using OWC laser tactical for ADS time and ADS bullet spread. Large caliber mag A. So if you guys don't know what the body part damage multiplier does, it basically, like, for example, if you hit the legs, it'll be 24 damage, but if you hit the chest or something, it'll be 26. Just basically does is like give you like no matter where you hit in the body, damage will always be same. I believe this gun is 26 or 27, I'm not sure, but I think that's the damage with the large caliber ammo. If you have just normal extended mag, what it basically does is like if you hit the chest, it's more damage. If you hit the legs, it's less damage. This basically just stabilizes your damage more, so yes. And then finally, we have rubberized grip just for the vertical recoil control. I mean, look at all these attachments. Marksman barrel, bunch of negative effects, monolithic suppressor, bunch of negative effects. This gun's extremely good at any range, short range, close range, mid range, long range. I'm using this gun just for long range, so yes. If you look at the mobility, it's still 94, so this gun's absolutely amazing. With all these attachments, I can still jump, slide, and swerve with extremely good ADS movement speed. So yes, I think PP19 will be better than QQ9. That's why I think it will break the meta. But let me know in the comments. This is all for my PP19. Now following up, we have the akimbo pistols. I mean, combo wouldn't nerf this gun at all. Still extremely good. You can just this gun, if you're accurate, can just one shot people one shot. So yes. What I'm using is monolithic suppressor just for a big boost and a range too, and a silence too. Also following up, obviously need to have the akimbo perk. And then we have MIP laser, mainly just for the hip fire, because if you're akimboing, it's hip fire only, if there's no ADS. So I'm focusing just on the hip fire. I don't really care about the ADS time or movement time either, because you're not scoped in. So, and then following up, we have the lightweight trigger. This gun will make my gun shoot way faster. If you compare it to this trigger, not bad. This trigger, 41 fire rate compared to 47, so use the lightweight trigger. And I got extended mag A. You can use extended mag B if you want, but if you use B, you'll get less mobility, so it's up to you. You can just choose. This is all for the deagle. This gun is extremely toxic, so just don't use this gun in rank as your primary weapon. Use it as a backup, but don't don't be one of those people that use their RPGs as their primary weapon. So yeah, moving on. We got the LK24 now. What I'm using is a monolithic suppressor. As usual, I get a boost in the range. And I'm using a red dot. I feel like the red dot will help me take longer gunfights, like long range. And yeah, and then I'm using OWC laser tactical. I get ADS time and ADS bullet spread as well. Using strike foregrip mainly for vertical recoil control and the ADS bullet spread too. And I'm using granular grip. All of these attachments have what's called small negative effects, like you can see 1.0 movement speed, 15.0 ADS movement speed, so all of these attachments won't affect my gun and mobility too much, so yes. And then moving on, we got the Type 25. We got the Type 25 now, so this gun is extremely good. If you have this attachment, it's called a stopping power on. Basically gives you damage, but the only negative effect is recoil, and a lot of vertical recoil. So what I'm using is obviously the stopping power just for damage. If you compare it to normal, you get 39 damage compared to 60 damage. Following up, we got steady stock. I'm using this just for the hit flinch and ADS bullet spread too. And then following up, we got the strike foregrip just to help the vertical recoil. This gun doesn't suck at ADS bullet spread, but the vertical recoil is extremely bad, so I try to focus on a vertical recoil control. And then I got laser tactical as always, and then monolithic suppressor. So you don't have to use a monolithic suppressor. If you like your gun silenced, then feel free to. If you don't, then I'll highly recommend you trade it out for a rubberized grip just for a vertical recoil. This is all for the Type 25. Moving on to the last gun would be the QQ9. This gun is absolutely amazing. Camo gave it a buff. I don't know why they did, but they just gave it a buff. Like, I don't know. They increased something. I'm not sure exactly increased, but this build I'm using for QQ9 is basically at mid to long range, so that's why I'm using so many attachments to help the recoil control. So starting off, you got MIP strike stock. On SMGs, you basically just want to focus on hit flinch because it's an SMG. So if you're not using strike stock, you should probably trade for your perks. You probably should use toughness just for hit flinch. But I'm using strike stock, so I'm using Vulture as my green perk. And I'm using a mono suppressor. I get a huge damage buff. Also, it increases my range a lot, so I can take those long gun fights. And then laser tactical as always. Moving on, I got Merc foregrip. You don't have to use Merc foregrip if you like. I mean, Merc foregrip does have a bunch of negative effects, but it does help with my hip fire and vertical recoil control. You can trade out for strike if you want. It's up to you. It's also optional. And I got 40 round extended mag. Since for a QQ now you're firing a bunch of shots, you're most likely gonna miss like what 40% of them. So there's no point in using 10 millimeter 30 round. But if you're extremely accurate and you know you hit your shots, then feel free to use this because it's only 30 bullets, but this is 45, so get 15 more bullets. This build can basically use at long range, especially the iron sight. It's absolutely amazing. It can beam. If you're at long range and you're having if you're struggling to control a recoil, something I'll recommend to you is maybe instead of holding a shoot button, just try tap fire and tap the fire button slowly instead of just holding it. Because if you continuously shoot, there will be recoil, a lot of recoil. So if you tap fire recoil, it'll be much easier to control. This is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.